Hello, bonjour, white, Square, Capinesis, Tinishi, Kiawao, bonjour, hola, um, uh, good afternoon, in ASL. Welcome to the virtual full workshop series. As we just let the waterfall of 490, 500, 550, 570 people wash in. I just get you to take maybe 1 or 2 moments just to breathe, maybe look out of the window, just take a second to come into this learning space. Listen to the rain. Okay, I'll dive in. It doesn't feel much like fall where I am today. It feels pretty summery and bright. I was very grateful for lots of rain. That's happened in the last few weeks because the forests and the lakes needed it. Somebody's found the reaction buttons that is at the bottom of your bar. Obviously, we're in webinar mode, so we can't see your beautiful faces, all 630 of you. So please feel free to use those if you want to let us know that you're here. I'm just going to start my slideshow here so we can dive in. So thank you so much for joining us for the Outdoor Learning Free virtual workshop series. It is the 17th of September. Can't believe we're starting these again. It's amazing. And hello to everyone in the chat. And this is land-based learning and reconciliation resources for teaching teens. So really fantastic to do that. I'm joining you from Sinixt territory. This is they're the people of the bull trout. And in Selchine, the language of this place, I live at Skihikan. Skihikan means where the ridgelines meet the water. And the water, thinking about reconciliation for me today, I'm just so deeply grateful for the abundance that the land and the water around me offers me, both through recreation, that's my friend and my dog, enjoying it, but also that the kokanee salmon are just spawning right now. I don't have a good photograph, but I see life and health. Obviously, I live downstream of a dam, so I also see destruction, but I am impressed by mother and by her beauty and power and ability to adapt every day. And so I'm so deeply grateful to live here. And the Sinixt, the Secwepemc, the Silks and the Tanaha First Nations have used this waterway, Sinhuit, the Swift River, for thousands and thousands of years and continue to do so. I was very lucky to attend a Saran ceremony recently that honoured the salmon, and it was one of the most special moments of my life. And if you do know where the traditional and ongoing territory that you are in and you want to share that in the chat, please feel free to begin a waterfall of recognition as we move on. And as we go into these spaces, for us, outdoor learning and land-based learning are intertwined and cannot be separated. And so for us, particularly those of us who are non-Indigenous in these spaces, it is important that we honour the truth and the history of the land and our First Peoples and do our work for reconciliation. So in Canada specifically, we have the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation and Orange Shirt Day on September 30th, and we've compiled a list of resources that can help you deepen your learning there. We also have Indigenous Peoples Day coming up on October 14th. And if you are in the US, we do have some specific resources for you as well to dive in there. And of course, we know this is year-round learning, this is year-round work, this is integrating into every part of our lives. But this is just what we have created for you in this moment to bring attention and awareness. We do have this beautiful year-round learning called 4 Seasons of Indigenous Learning. We have some incredible speakers who will be sharing as part of that. Including Richard Van Camp will be speaking again for us. And Monique's doing a course with us later this year. There's so many things happening, but we would love for you to join us. We also, if you are looking for outdoor learning, in addition to Four Seasons, we have seasonal courses, things like Naturally Inclusive around engaging children of all abilities. We have 2 fantastic Indigenous language courses coming up, Cree and a Mischief language. And if you're still just eager to learn more and spend time learning about outdoor learning, we have an amazing outdoor learning certification that is self-paced online for you to participate in. And that is in conjunction with our fantastic partners, Take Me Outside, and Julie is here working hard in the background and here to spend some time with us today.
Hi, everybody. So great to be here with you all. I'm joining from Dish with One Spoon and Between the Lakes Treaty 3 land, the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit, land stewarded by the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, and very thankful to be here on this land and to be with you all today to learn together. And yes, Take Me Outside Day is coming up. The week of October 21st to the 25th. So hoping it's free to join. We're going to have a full week of amazing virtual opportunities to connect, but also on Wednesday, October 23rd, supporting educators taking their learners outside across Turtle Island. Really excited about that. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Julie. Okay, so we're going to do a little pause and have a quick look at who's with us in here. And as I do this as well, if it helps you to engage with the webinar more easily, at the bottom of your bar, there's a more with 3 dots, and you can enable closed captioning, which will do AI's best sort of transcript of what's happening live, if that's helpful for you. And if you do have any questions or need support, please type it in the chat and Julie or myself will support you the best we can in engaging with this. This is being recorded. It will be available just for a brief 1 month for people. So please, if you would like to watch the recording again, enjoy it before it will be taken away. It's this special moment in time that we'll share together. Okay, I'm going to launch a little poll. So I'm going to ask, who are you? So, big question. I know that many of you are multiple things, but we just got here. Just what kind of educator are you? Are you support admin? Are you a librarian? Are you not an educator but just passionate about learning? We've got nearly 800 people here. I just have to say, 796. That's a record. It's incredible that you're here with us. Yes, brilliant adult educators joining us. Thank you so much. Intensive needs educator. Fantastic. Okay, I'm going to leave it open for 3 more seconds. 3, 2, 1. I'm going to end that poll. Sorry if you didn't quite have time, but we're going to keep whizzing through because we've got some obviously fantastic guests who we'd love to get to. And you know what? I see every kind of that we could fit in the allowed number of spaces that you're allowed in these polls. Everybody's represented, which tells us that this is a diverse audience of incredible people. So that makes me so happy. And the next question is just, where are you joining us from? Which it will not let me launch. So never mind. Thank you for sharing in the chat where you have joined us from for your traditional territory. If you want to type in the chat where you're joining us from specifically, that would be great. It's been a while since we've been on here, and polls sometimes like to play games. So we will see. But let's see if it will let me do that one now. But no, it's not having it. Okay, thanks so much. We'll just keep rolling. Always takes us a little bit of a while to get in here. Yes, that's it. Waterfall of friendship from people all across Turtle Island and beyond. Okay, we've got a bunch of partners, international partners, Canadian partners, friends from the US, who are all dedicated to outdoor learning and environmental education. Find your local people, check out the link that's going in the chat here. They could have resources, funding, educational opportunities, and we're very proud of all of them. So please feel free to check them out. We hope you'll find someone that's relevant for you to get some support from. And now we're here with 2 incredible authors who've written numerous texts, and we're focusing on just a couple here today. But Monique Gray Smith, who adapted Braiding Sweetgrass from Dr. Robin Wall Kimmerer, for young adults. And then there's this beautiful duo of books, which I've been reading and can't read without crying deeply, emotionally, in the most beautiful way. When we play our drums, they sing, from Richard Van Camp, who will be speaking just a little bit later, and Lucy and Lola from Monique Gray Smith. And so I'm going to start here. Monique, I have a small gift for you, which turns out I'm going to see you next week. But it's handcrafted. I'm going to present it to you off screen, if that's okay. But just know in my heart and in our soul, we're so deeply grateful this many times that I've gotten to spend time in your beautiful presence and learn from you. And it is such an honor that you're here again today. So Monique Gray Smith is Cree and Scottish, proud mum of twins, and an award-winning best-selling author and sought-after consultant. She's written many fantastic books, including the ones I mentioned, and they're used to share wisdom, knowledge, hope, and the important teaching that love is medicine. You are well known for your storytelling, spirit of generosity, which I can attest to personally, and a focus on resilience. And so I'll stop sharing and I will pass it over to you, Monique. You're just
Much gratitude for that beautiful welcome. Thank you, Jade, and for laying down good medicine for us for our visit and our time together. And I was just loving watching where everybody was coming from, like literally all over. I was like, wow. Yeah, I'm really touched by the wingspan of our visit today. I'm joining you from the traditional territories of the Lekwungen-speaking peoples, also known as Victoria, British Columbia, and am grateful to live here, to raise my family here, and to create here. That I feel like these lands have really been medicine for me and for my family. So I'm going to also do a little PowerPoint because I think that sometimes people have different ways of learning. And for me, one of my ways is visual. And that includes when I'm out in nature, that, this balance of looking down to see where am I going and what's the footpath, but also looking up and seeing who's in the trees and what's happening. And there's times when I'm walking, I'll show you in a moment a photo. I live just a block from the forest, in English known as Mount Doug Park, and in Lekwungen known as Pacalls. And this forest has been medicine for me many times. But there's times when I'm walking through there and a leaf will fall just in front of me, and I think to myself, maybe I'm like the only human who just saw that leaf fall. I might not be the only being in this forest that saw it fall, but I might be the only human. And the magnificence in that moment of being witness and not being on my phone or being distracted with something else, but being present. And I think when we talk about and when we really support ourselves and children and young people to be outside as much as possible, that we are supporting vitality that allows us to take risks, allows us to try new things, allows us to grieve, allows us to feel our feelings, allows us to dream, allows us to think, if I see a dragonfly that actually really, when you look at science, isn't supposed to be able to fly, or a hummingbird, and yet they fly everywhere and so fast, that if that's possible, what else might be possible? And so that's for me why I actually spend a lot of time outside. And I've started to ask educators, because the questions for educators have been, when can you take the kids outside? Like when you look at your week, when are you outside? And I'm starting to ask, and I really hope like in 2 or 3 years, this is actually the question is, when do we have to be inside? And I ask that of myself, like, when can I be outside? When do I have to be inside? So some of you joining us, maybe you have just finished your day and maybe it's been a long one. So I just want to take us outside to start the day. And this is part of where I enter the forest here at Pacalls. You can see some of these cedar trees throughout the forest. Some of them are older than before Columbus even set sail. Their boughs kind of brush off anything I don't need to carry anymore. They've helped me grieve. They've helped me prepare to grieve, that anticipatory grief. They've helped me to celebrate. They've helped me to carry, messages that I don't need to carry anymore. You can see that creek there on the right, that when we sit to the creek, we sit so our heart flows downstream, so that anything we need to let go of, it goes downstream and out to the ocean or to the lake. Because if we sit on the other side, it goes upstream and it comes back to us. And when we're working with children and young people, want them to understand when we want to let it go, we've got to let it go downstream. And the beauty is when we're outside, that first 1.5 inches of the earth's floor, it's called humus. And when we smell it, our brain changes. That stress hormone of cortisol goes down, and oxytocin and dopamine both go up. The love hormones, the hormones that help regulate, that very Western word of regulate. But what it also does is when our eyelids reach the sun, so that sun hits our eyelids, it also releases vitamin D, which releases serotonin, which just helps us to feel connect, to be part of community, and again, to use that very Western word, to regulate. So whenever you or those that you might be working with or caring for or being of service to are discombobulated and you aren't already outside, please get outside. You will see that nature's gift to help us restore ourselves and replenish our ability to be civil citizens. Today, if you were in the classroom, because it's full moon and it's also a solar eclipse, so you might have noticed that there were behaviors in your classroom, or maybe even with yourself or in the staff room or driving to work, that might have been a bit unusual. I'm always like, mark on your calendars when it's full moon and be outside if you're not already as much as possible. So I'm going to take us out for a minute here. You're going to hear 15 sounds of the Sailor Sea, the ocean, 15 seconds of the Sailor Sea. Then you're going to hear 15 seconds of the birds in my backyard. Then you'll hear that creek. And then the last 15 seconds, you'll hear the campfire. So just allow yourself to enjoy for 1 minute. So just do a little internal temperature check after that 1 minute. How might you be feeling? Do you notice the chair below you? Maybe you notice the back of the chair. Maybe you notice the sides of your lips have come up. Maybe your shoulders have dropped. And when we have to be in the classroom, this might be one way that you welcome your learners in. Just with something playing on the screen or some sounds like Jade had for us when we first all came on, that they can be the medicine, because we never know what has happened in a child's from the moment they wake up until they arrive in your classroom. We don't know. And they might have been bringing a big bundle with them of not so good feelings. And just 1 minute or even a little more, if you're not able to get outside, can help to rebalance so that they can be present with you for the day. The other way to rebalance and to really focus on our wellness is through offering gratitude. This is an example. This is the Haudenosaunee Thanksgiving address that is in both Braiding Sweetgrass and Braiding Sweetgrass for young adults. So I just wanted to bring this up because when we think about gratitude, again, the neuroscience, when we offer gratitude, when we start our day from offering Thanksgiving, it again influences our oxytocin, our dopamine, and our serotonin. So again, we talk about regulation and self-regulation. When we look at our wellness and our thriving, it can really come down to some simple things, like being outside as much as possible, having plants in your classroom, offering Thanksgiving. This beautiful illustration of the Thanksgiving address was done by Nicole Neidhart, and she did an illustration for every chapter in Braiding Sweetgrass for young adults. And so I want to read to you just briefly from Braiding Sweetgrass, the piece that allowed Robin Wall Kimmerer to include the Haudenosaunee Thanksgiving address in Braiding Sweetgrass. That when we look at this journey of truth and reconciliation, part of the journey is ensuring we give honor and hold up where our teachings come from. So this is from Braiding Sweetgrass for young adults. I have heard the Thanksgiving address in many forms, but I'm not a Haudenosaunee citizen or scholar, just a respectful neighbor and listener. Because I feared overstepping my boundaries and sharing what I had been told, I asked permission to write about it and how it has influenced my own thinking. Over and over, I was told that these words are a gift of the Haudenosaunee to the world. When I asked Onondaga faithkeeper and Haudenosaunee citizen Oren Lyons about it, he gave his signature slightly bewildered smile and said, "Of course you should write about it. It's supposed to be shared. Otherwise, how can it work? We've been waiting 500 years for people to listen. If they'd understood the Thanksgiving then, we wouldn't be in this mess." And so to think about if you're not able to start your day outside or have some way of bringing nature in, how can you start with a grateful heart for yourself? Because the energy you bring into the space where you're educating hearts and minds and spirits is of absolute utmost importance. So how do you start your day with gratitude? And then how do you bring that into the space? And I just am asking these questions because how all almost 900 of you do this will be your own unique way. So I think about this beautiful teaching that's in Braiding Sweetgrass. We have to unlearn the hurrying. And this is part of what being outside and on the land gifts us, is that when we watch and we're present with what's happening, we slow down, our heart rate slows down. The synaptic firing in our brain, not always does it slow down because we're present, we're watching what's going on, but it's not firing in a hyper aroused way. It's firing in a way that allows us to absorb what we're seeing and learning. And in this grind culture that we live in, unlearning hurrying is, I think, for me, utmost importance. And it's something that I've been focusing on for the last year or 2 years, that how do I put into place a pattern where my life, and I'm not always a fan of the word balance, but where what's most important to me in my life is most present in my life. So I think about Lucy and Lola, the beautiful gift to collaborate with a book with Richard Van Camp. He's going to share with you his beautiful story and other stories around when we play our drums, they sing. When we play our drum, they sing. Lucy and Lola was inspired. I was invited. It leads me to think about, when we slow down and listen. Had I not listened, this book probably would not have come. I was invited to Gabriola Island for lunch, and I kept saying to my friend who was inviting me, I can't come. Like, I got this government contract on my back. I can't come. And then finally she said, Monique, I have a guest here who wants to meet you. Now you need to come. And I'm like, I can't come. And she's like, it's Murray Sinclair. And I'm like, I'll be there. So my family and I went the next day. We had this beautiful lunch with him. Out sitting outside, and I'll always remember because there was, the commissioner of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, the lead commissioner with my son bantering back and forth about whether the Toronto Blue Jays or the Boston Red Sox was a better baseball team. And I was giggling, thinking, oh my gosh, like, Jackson thinks he's, bantering with an uncle, but he has no idea at this point in his life the influence of this gentleman that we're sitting with. And after that visit, we went down to the ocean and we were walking along the rocks. And these two young girls came to me and I knew they were twins. They told me their name right away. They told me all this information that they came to Gabriola Island to spend the summer with their cookum because their mom had to study for the bar exam. Like all of this just came as a download. On the way home, I was telling my family about it, and my daughter Sadie started to add pieces to it. And that's how Lucy and Lola came into the world. It's a story about twins who their mom has to study for the bar exam, and they go to spend the summer on Gabriola with their cookum, their grandma. And initially, they're not so happy, not because of cookum, but cookum has no Wi-Fi. Cookum has no TV. She has a library room, and she has this dog, Sam, that barks at everything. And they're just not so keen about Sam. But over time, they begin to love him, and they do this sign saying, no barking, Sam. They put it all in, glitter and all kinds of things, but he keeps barking. One day on a Saturday, they go to the garage sale and they get him some Harry Potter glasses. He's a little pug with his Harry Potter glasses on, and he still is barking. And the girls are just like so fed up with him barking. And then one night they go to bed and Lola has a dream. And this is her telling her twin sister Lucy about the dream. Lola was known for having dreams that hinted at the answers to problems. Never did her dreams tell her explicitly what to do. That she had to figure out for herself. But there was always enough information in the dream to sort out what to do next. Lucy and her mom had learned to pay attention to Lola's dreams and their own as well. Lola continued to describe the dream. When we first saw her, the elder, Sam started to bark, but the elder motioned with her head for us to come to her. As we got close, she put her hand out toward Sam, almost like she was blessing him. And the crazy thing is, Sam stopped barking. He crooked his head, sat down, and watched her. After a few moments, she turned to me and said, the land is connected to the language, and the language is connected. And they didn't know whose territory they were on, so they figured that out. They went to a website called First Voices, and they found out how to say no barking Sam in Hulkaminam, because they were on the traditional territories of the Snuneymuxw people. So that gives you just a little glimpse into Lucy and Lola and the journey that they have while they're summer with their very special cookum as they begin to understand their own family's history. And from there, I was asked to talk about braiding sweetgrass for young adults. Both Lucy and Lola here and Braiding Sweetgrass for Young Adults were projects of the heart, for sure. And when I think about Braiding Sweetgrass for Young Adults, I think about here's these 3 strands that were in Braiding Sweetgrass: Indigenous wisdom, scientific knowledge, teachings of the plants. One of the quotes that I pulled out that Nicole Neidhart did these beautiful braids for, braids of sweetgrass, is the teachings of the plants. And there's this sentence that says, if you ask permission, you have to listen to the answer. This teaches us so much about plants and about harvesting, about picking berries, but it also teaches us about our relationships. That those of you, especially working in middle grades and with teenagers, that when somebody sets a boundary, which is like if you ask permission, you have to listen to the answer. The plants have so many teachings, and the land and all living beings have so many teachings that show up in our human relationships if we pay attention. When we look at social and emotional learning, imagination is one of our most powerful tools. What we imagine, we can become. When we spend time outside and on the land, or we're immersed in a classroom where there's plants and living beings happening, like right now, my cat is literally staring at me at the window saying, "Mama, let me in." When we're immersed with these living beings, our ability to imagine is heightened. When we are deprived, or we live in an environment that has deprivation of living beings other than human, our imagination is less. So the more you bring living beings into your classroom, the more you're outside, the more the imagination of your learners and yourself will get heightened. And in these times that we're living in, we need, and we're going to keep needing, the imagination of humans to be inspired to make good, healthy, positive change for the future of our humanity and of our planet. I think this is, for me, probably one of my most favorite quotes from Braiding Sweetgrass for young adults. Imagine how less lonely the world would be if we knew and believed that we didn't have to figure everything out by ourselves. When I think about this quote, I really do think about our ability as humans to just not have to do it all on our own, which changes a lot of what comes bombarding at us. That, you got to be independent, you got to be self-reliant, and you got to be able to just be an island. And the truth is that actually, no matter where you go in the world, historically, that was not how humans lived. We relied on each other. We relied on the plants for food, for medicine, for rope. We relied on the beings to help feed us, to give us eggs, to remind us about the cycle of life, to watch the squirrel, to remind us to prepare for the next season. We relied on the trees and on the branches and on the berries, on the fish, the winged ones, the slither ones. We relied on all of them, and they relied on us. And so when I think about the beautiful work you're doing in the classroom, no matter what capacity has brought you here today, and or you're somebody raising a child, a parent, a grandparent, an auntie, and uncle, that the more we can help ourselves and those people who we are caring for to truly know they don't have to figure everything out by themselves, that really is one of the foundations of resilience. And it doesn't mean that I call somebody all the time. It might mean that I go to that cedar tree in the park, or I go sit by the creek, or I hold the medicine that was given to me by an elder and say my prayers, or I go out at full moon and make an offering. There's so many ways for us to connect. And so I'm going to turn it over now to one of the people I love most in the world, Mr. Richard Van Camp. And when you hear almost every single Indigenous author in Canada talk about their journey as an author and or illustrator, almost every one of them holds up Richard Van Camp for his contributions to their journey, including myself. So the lovely, the talented, the magnificent Richard Van Camp, who I think Jade's going to introduce, but let's hear from Richard.
You're on mute there, Richard, but that was beautiful, Monique. That's it. I mean, prolific storyteller, producer, music, director. You've written 28 books, is that? And many more essays, and your work has filtered into me from very different places and has moved me each time. So, and it's my first time meeting you, and our emails, the way you started our chat before we came live into this space, it's the kind of conversations that you dream of when you're at work, because they fill you rather than it being like, this is something that takes from me and I just do it to make, enough to put food on my table, and instead you filled my cup in this brief moment. So I'll just pass it over to you. Thank you.
Oh, bless you. Okay, Jade, Mussy Cho, Monique Gray Smith, Mussy Cho. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Happy full moon. Hoka. Look at this. 887 people, mammals together, family, under this beautiful moonlight. And I hope you know that tonight, Saturn is passing behind the moon. If you follow me on Twitter or X, I've been retweeting a lot of what is happening. And to see Saturn passing behind the moon is absolutely thrilling for me because, 2 years ago, a bunch of parents, we were outside. Our kids were playing. I actually called our kids our parents. That was really interesting. I think our babies raise us, don't they? But down the street at King Edward Elementary here in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, Treaty 6 territory, there was one night. I love the northern sky. I love it so much. And I think I know my stars. I think I know my constellations. But there was one night, a bunch of us were standing around, a bunch of us parents, while the kids were playing. And I said, what is that to the left of the moon? Can you see that? And they all looked and they said, yeah, what is that? I said, well, is that the new SpaceX? What is that? And it actually was a little bit eerie. And of course, everybody pulled out their phones and they said, it's Mars. We got to watch Mars. And this actually, I think, strengthened our relationship to each other because we always say, remember the night we watched Mars pass behind the moon? Well, tonight, my friends, we've got the Northern Lights dancing over the planet. Bless the sun. We've got Saturn passing behind the moon under this gorgeous full moon. And I just wanted to share that galaxy gossip with you. And I wanted to say a huge Mussy Cho to all of you for joining us this evening. My name is Richard Van Camp. I'm going to just introduce myself in my mother's language, Slicho Dene. Si hobatsa gotsoete, hani ho Edmonton nade, sagya masi. My friends, thank you so much for being here. Bless you all, bless your families, bless your work. I am a proud father, proud husband, dear friend to Monique Gray Smith. It is a pleasure to share the stage with her this evening and honor you all. I want you to know that we have prepared very precious gifts for you. You're all going to be receiving. Do you want to hear about the gifts first? Let's talk about the gifts first. So I'm a Northerner. I was born and raised in Fort Smith, Northwest Territories, Treaty 8 territory. I was born in 1971. I'm a Virgo. That makes me nosy and bossy. And thank God we were raised before the internet. Aren't you happy you were raised before the internet? Because we got to be kids. We knew community, culture, elders, God, the great outdoors. And when the lights came on, the street lights came on, you went home. And for those of you in Canada, you must remember, I mean, we had the Jolly Green Giant, we had the Grasset Junior High, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, we had Night Tracks, Pet Shop Boys, Eurythmics. It was the best, right? And growing up in Fort Smith, I was so lucky. Population 2,500. We're on the 60th parallel. Third best place in the world to see the Northern Lights, gateway to Wood Buffalo National Park. I mean, we can two-step to anything. And so raised in the 70s and the 80s, I think why this talk means so much to me, and I just want to say bless you all as educators and as parents and as human beings. I'm so grateful we get to just talk and I get to share and I get to honor you with gifts because I'm a Northerner. And I've always said Northerners are the hobbits of Canada. All we want to do is cook for you and treat you right. Hey, the longer you visit, your arms just get heavier with gifts and your love cup just overflows. Everybody's going to leave with a perm. There's a whole lot of hot air flying around. Okay, I'm just going to put that out there. But here are the gifts you're all going to receive tonight because I love you. Are you ready? I wanted to put together a list of books that I believe in K through 12. I knew we were going to have educators from right across the board. And I know we've got dear friends and honored guests down south of the 49th. There are a lot of authors that are on your side of the border that we certainly do not know about. And it's nobody's fault. I just wanted to really celebrate and honor you in a good way by bringing a lot of Indigenous writers from across Canada that you may not have discovered yet. So you're all going to be receiving. We've uploaded somewhere on the interweb. I think it's 24 pages. You can tell I'm a Virgo. It's organized K through 12. books that I love dearly, K through 12, from Indigenous and non-Indigenous writers. It's just something because I love to read. And I'm just going to put a disclaimer. The list that I've been working on, I've been putting it together for years, is already outdated. We're living in a time of incredible reclaiming. And the reason I say that is my mother, Rosa Washi, was one of the 160,000 kids that were stolen a long time ago across Canada. My mother was stolen when she was 5 years old. Her name is Rosa Washi. She was forced to attend 2 residential schools, Brainerd Hall and Grandin College. And I've always said that residential schools will always be the sorrow in Canada's bones. We are still very much in those shadows, whether it's the 60s scoop, whether it's mission schools, whether it's the foster care system, whether it's residential schools, we are still seeing the unfolding trauma of what happened through those machines, those colonizing machines. But I want to say this, and here's where we all come in. So I'm 53 now, and I've noticed that my generation, the 50-somethings, we're what I call the bridge generation. I think because so much was almost lost. You know, they say when you break a bone, the body overcompensates. Where you break a bone, that will become the strongest part of your body. I really believe that my generation, the 50-somethings, are doing everything we can because we came so close to losing so much that we're spending our lives reclaiming as much as we can for others. So here's where you come in. Here are your gifts. This is for all the birthdays, Monique and Jade and all of us. We all missed. We're going to make it up to you tonight, okay? So you're going to all receive a list of books, I believe, in K through 12. It's already outdated. Don't slash my tires. Make your own list. Send me your favorite. I'll add it. I'll give you full credit too. The other thing is I've been collecting elder stories from across Canada for 24 years. I have permission to share all 24 of these miracle stories. I wanted to gift that to you. You know, I really love the Lakota saying. There's this beautiful saying by the Lakota. It says, "May the great mystery always put a sunrise in your heart." I guarantee you, in the 24 stories I've been collecting, there's going to be a story that you encounter that is perfect for you at this point in your journey. Trust me on that. This is the greatest gift I could ever possibly give you, okay? And I'm going to double dog rib dare you. So I'm Tlicho Dene. A long time ago, they used to call us the dog ribs. So I'm still allowed to say this. I'm going to double dog rib dare you to go out there. If I can record 24 elders from right across Canada, please go out and start recording your knowledge keepers, your elders, your family members, because you know that saying, when an elder passes, a library closes. It really is true. Don't wait. Don't hold back your love, right? At this stage in our lives, we don't need more stuff. We need more recipes. We need more names, more songs, more lullabies, more ceremony. That's what we need. So if I can put together a list of books I believe in K through 12, I would love to read your list of books K through 12. If I can record 24 elders and knowledge keepers and wicked storytellers, you can too. We're very blessed to use technology. You know, one of the things that came out of the lockdown here in Canada with COVID was FaceTime. We weren't FaceTiming 5 years ago. We're FaceTiming now. Just FaceTime my mom last night. It was fantastic. I want to FaceTime you. The other thing I wanted to give you was, you know, growing up in the 70s and 80s, I had a bit of a bad attitude. I was a reluctant learner. I had a mullet, I had a rat tail, I had pinch hickeys, I had hockey stick nunchucks. I had a bad attitude. Let's just be honest about that, okay? I think I peaked in 84. Anyways, I was the student that you see in when we play our drums, they sing. I was the reluctant learner. I was the Dene Cho. And I remember thinking out loud, you know, Cassiopeia, Andromeda, Ursa Major, Aurora Borealis, those are pretty words, but those aren't our words. I mean, Fort Smith, Northwest Territory, we're officially quadrilingual. What that means is Chipewyan, Cree, French, and English are spoken at any given time. We're the Métis capital of the Northwest Territories. Why do we have to learn about Ursa Major, you know, Cassiopeia, Andromeda? Where's our words? And so one of the things I wanted to give you was every time I go home, I sit down with our language speakers and I say, how do you say in Bush Cree, Venus? There's Venus, right? In the morning now, in the fall, I can see Venus. Thank goodness there was a wonderful elder. Her name is Dot Desjardins. No, so this is Flora Grandjam. Flora Grandjam said, Venus in Bush Cree is Oginans. Oginans. And that means leader star. Leader star. Do you know what that meant? I was in my 40s before I learned that. Oginans. So when I see Venus every morning from my office when I'm writing, I mean, I acknowledge Venus, but I love Oginans even more, leader star, because when I say Oginans for leader star, I think of Flora Grandjam. And that's a funny story. I got to spend so much time with this wonderful elder. And afterwards, her daughter came to pick me up, to take me back to my hotel. And I'd interviewed Flora for this book we were working on. And Flora and her were talking in Cree. And I knew they were talking about me. And I said, excuse me, what are you talking about? And this lady said, well, my mom is just so happy that the new priest in town decided to spend all afternoon with her. I'm not a priest. I said, I'm not a priest. She goes, you're not the new priest? I said, no. Well, who in the heck are you? You came here, you ate all the Christmas cake. She was up feeding you coffee. She's an elder. I said, she wouldn't let me move. She just kept saying, it's so nice. I'm so glad you're here, etc. So she thought I was the priest. That's the only reason she let me in the house. I was hired by the band to interview her. Anyways, every time I say Oginans, I remember Flora Grandjam. I acknowledge my elders. So tonight, the Northern Lights are dancing across North America and Turtle Island. And my wish for you all tonight is that you get outside, download the Aurora Watch app. I hope you get to see the Northern Lights. I really do. In Tli Cho, how we say Northern Lights is Naka, Naka. And so tonight is a full moon. It's a harvest moon. In our language, you say, Itzeza Wegatin. Itzeza Wegatin. There's the moon. My question to you all is, how do you say in your language, there's the moon? How do you say in the community that you were raised, there's Venus? How do you say there's the Northern Lights? That's really good homework. I hope that you start to learn. And also, what does the full moon mean to you? So I'll give you an example. Growing up in Fort Smith, Northwest Territories, my mom used to have long hair like Linda. I said, Monique, who used to have the longest hair? What was her name? Remember, she used to sing Nobody's Angel? Crystal Gale. My mom had long hair like Crystal Gale. Anyways, so under the full moon in Fort Smith, I don't know what it's like where you are, everybody would trim their split ends under the full moon, and then they would burn it in the fire, all the loose ends. And that their belief was that the full moon would make their hair grow stronger and longer and fuller. And so my question to you all is, what does the full moon mean to you? What are your cultural teachings around the Northern Lights? When you see Orion's belt finally in the fall, what does that mean to you? And so you're going to receive a document. It's about our reclaimed moon and star knowledge. And from my elders, my Fort Smith elders. And I'm really grateful I took the time to interview them about what certain things mean. I'm really grateful. So the message tonight is, don't hold back your love. Get on out there. Don't wait. Record the people that deserve to be recorded with permission, of course. Get those recipes. Get those baking techniques. Get those harvesting techniques, whether it's looming, darning, sewing, fishing, hunting, trapping, whatever it is. Get those now. Don't wait. Don't be cheap to yourselves, my friends. You deserve it. You deserve the best. Another thing I wanted to give you is our reclaimed community calendar. So growing up in Fort Smith, I was always interested in, we've got a little town population, 2,500. What are the winged ones doing all the months of the year? What are those that crawl, those that swim, the two-legged, the four-legged? What are they doing? When's the best time to harvest rat root or those northern blueberries or low bush cranberries? When's the best time to set nets? When's the best time to make snowshoes? And so I put together this little calendar. I'm really proud of it. And every time I go up, I always pass it around when I see Earl Evans or Kenny Hudson or Mike Labine, Marlene Evans, all the people that I love. And they're always only so happy to help really honor what's happening in our town and outside our town. And so I'm going to double dog rib dare you to do this. I want you to please start your own community calendar for your family. If you own gerbils, what are the gerbils up to? If you've got a cat, what are the cats up to? Right now, Monique talked about a squirrel. Right now, we've got a squirrel in our tree out here in Edmonton, Alberta, in our yard. It's raining acorns left, right, and center anytime we're outside, right? It's death from above with the squirrel because they're preparing. They know certainly what's coming. So what I can do, I'm going to double dog rib dare all of you to do. Don't wait. Start recording your community calendar. And why not bring that into your classroom? Ask your students, do a big community calendar in your classroom. What's happening in your traditions? What is happening with your family right now in the month of September? What is happening? What does the full moon mean to you? You know, I was down in Mission, South Dakota a long time ago with George Littlechild, and there's a beautiful school. And when you go into that school, it's a Lakota school. When you go into the school, the foyer, it's like the Sistine Chapel. When you go in there, they've painted all the constellations in the moon. And they have everything, every constellation and the moon named in Lakota. Can you imagine if students were to walk into their school and to see the constellations that they have named from their family? You know, my wish for everybody is that students are going where they're celebrated. My wish for teachers is they're working in places where they are celebrated. That's really my wish for everybody. The other thing is, I used to work for the Dene National Office in Yellowknife, and the Dene National Office has just released a book. It's free, it's online, as a gift to the world. And they talk about the medicines from Denendeh, the medicines from the Northwest Territories. And so I wanted to share that with you because I would love you to start documenting your own community medicines in whatever way that means to you. So those are the gifts that we wanted to give to you. So we've got my list of books, K through 12, Tracking Heaven, 24 Elder Stories, our Reclaim Moon and Star Knowledge, because we are under a full moon together. How could I not show up with gifts to honor you? And our reclaimed community calendar, the Moon and Star Knowledge. And in that reclaimed Moon and Star Knowledge, there's a gentleman named Archie Smith. He's a Chippewan trapper. And he gave us a PhD in 4 minutes about the moon. He spent his life watching the moon. And when you open up that reclaimed Moon and Star Knowledge, we open with what he shared about what the clouds mean around the moon. And he said a long time ago, the people never watched the stars. They watched the moon. And they said, the moon will always tell you about the weather that's coming. You learn to watch the moon, it'll tell you all you ever need to know before you go out on the land. Thank goodness we got that down. Thank goodness we recorded them. So that wisdom is now for you. Now it's going to be interesting with global warming and how seasonal migration patterns change. And that's why I'm saying it might be wise now, record in your community what happens and what has been happening. But get ready, always leave new space for the new species that are going to start coming your way. I want to just talk, and Monique shared something, and I have a feeling this is something that I need to talk about tonight. And I'll make it quick because we want to go back. I want to talk about my teachers. So growing up in Fort Smith, Northwest Territories, I was a really good pop culture junkie. You can tell, you can see my Millennium Falcon. I wore my special Stormtrooper moccasins for you this evening because you're honored guests. And I care for you all so deeply. I really, truly do. And I want the best for each and every one of you. I'm going to give you my email. It's vancamprichard@gmail.com. And here's why. If you have somebody in your class and you have a reluctant reader, I want you to get in touch with me and say, Richard, I've got somebody in grade 7. They like manga. They're like zombies. They're not really interested in anything else. Put me to work. I am your Virgo for life. Remember, Virgos are bossy, but we love to be outbossed. Anyways, I'm going to end with this before we turn it back to Jade and to Monique. But I just want to acknowledge my teachers. So growing up in Fort Smith, when I graduated from high school, I realized, I'm a pretty good Canadian. I'm a pretty good Fort Smither. I've got a status card that says I'm a dog rib Indian. But what does that mean? I'm 17. All my friends have taken off to university and college. I'm not going. I'm going to take a year off and I'm going to volunteer and I'm going to be the handy bus driver in my community. I'm going to drive the elders around in my community. I'm going to live a life of service for 1 year. And that's what I did. And that's where Tracking Heaven comes in. Here's where you all come in. Because people say, when did you become a storyteller? When did you become a writer? And the truth is, I became a listener. You know, they say the Creator has given us 2 of these and 1 of these for a reason. We're supposed to be doing twice of this, right? More than we should be doing this. Because when we're doing this, we're actually not learning, right? It's this. This is how we remember. This is how we learn. Anyways, there was this beautiful Chippewa elder named Maria Brown, and she was a bush cook. I wish she was here tonight. I wish we were all together. There's 832 of us together. She could cook for us all, no problem. She was a bush cook, and she was curing asthma in our community. Do you know how? Goose grease. She said the cure for asthma is goose grease. But the thing about Indian medicine, Richard, is it's not the medicine you're given, it's who's giving you the medicine. Never forget that, she said. So she was gifted that medicine power when she was 14 years old from her father. Anyways, when we're done, you can disbelieve me all you want, but when we're done, you can go to Richard Van Camp SoundCloud and you can see a picture of her and you can actually listen to the story. And I'll make it quick. I see Jade. Jade's the bouncer. Jade, I need 5 more minutes. I swear to God, 5 more minutes, okay? Anyways, I was driving Maria Brown. This is the moment that changed my life forever. And I know there are people, there are honored guests tonight who need to hear the story, who deserve to hear the story. That's how a storyteller works. We listen with our blood. We listen with our spirits for the stories that need to come. So I was driving Maria Brown in Fort Smith, Northwest Territories, down McDougall Street. It was 30 below. I think I was taking her to Kaiser's. It was Thursday, and she was going to do her shopping. So Maria Brown was about 5 foot nothing. She was a tank. She was this Chippewan, just matriarch, and she was wonderful and funny and cheeky. So I'm driving her to Kaiser's on a Thursday. It was 30 below Celsius, and she goes, "Did I ever tell you about the time I died, Richard?" And I was 19, and I said, "What? You died? What? You died?" And she goes, "Oh yes. You want to know what heaven's like, Richard?" And I said, yes. I want to know, yes, what's heaven like? She said, "Heaven is like West Edmonton Mall. Heaven is like West Edmonton Mall. It's like you're inside and there's all these floors and everybody's visiting and everybody's happy. People are hugging and shaking hands and they're sitting with each other. And the walls are the color of the Northern Lights. And there's bridges, lots of bridges, just like when you go to West Edmonton Mall. People, everybody's 24 in heaven. Everybody's 24 in heaven." So how that happened was I woke up and she said, "I just wasn't feeling like myself one day. And it was morning and I was still sleepy, still tired. And I thought, well, I'll just lay down and have a little nap in my sewing room." So that's what I did. She goes, "I laid down, I pulled my little duvet over and I had a little nap." Well, I must have passed away in my sleep, because when I woke up, I was standing in this big place like West Edmonton Mall, and I saw the Northern Lights. The walls were just dancing, color of the Northern Lights. And there were 2 identical twins, women standing in front of me, and they're holding hands and their hair was just long. And they said, "Maria, it's so good to see you. Oh my goodness, Maria." And I looked at her, these 2 girls, and I said, "You girls, how much are they asking for this fabric? Oh, look, it's changing colors. Oh my goodness. Look, greens, blues, aquas. Oh my, boy, if I could get some of this fabric, boy, I could do my pillowcases. I could do my curtains for my kitchen. I could do my duvet. Oh my, look at that. It's changing colors. It's changing colors." And these ladies were Dene. They're very traditional. They covered their mouths. They said, "Maria, you don't need money here." And I told them, I said, "Get out of here." As if people are going to be given. "Oh, look, it's changing color again. Oh, I need some of this fabric. Oh, it's so beautiful." And they said, "Maria, you don't need money here because you're in heaven." And she said, when I heard that, I looked at them and I noticed something. When I was a little girl, my dad never let me cut my hair until I was 14. And there were 2 identical twins that were my best friends, and they had long hair too, and we played all day together. I lost them. We lost them to sickness when they were little. And here they were, the first ones to greet me in heaven. And I recognized them, and they were so beautiful. But behind them was a bridge. And behind them walked my mom, my dad, my late brother, and my late husband, John Louis. And they were all waving. And here they had all passed away. And my mom's hair was just black. My dad was strong. My brother was strong. And they were all waving. And I pushed those women aside and I started to run. I couldn't believe I was seeing my loved ones, and they're all waving, coming towards me. And my husband, John Louis, was a giant. He went between my mom and my dad, and he went like that. He just pushed them like nothing. He was like a big grizzly. He just went like that. And I remember I could see my dad. My dad went like that, and he said, well, go get her then. They were always joking around. And my husband, John Louis, was walking, going, babe, run, run. And I started to run. And as I started to run, there was a voice. And the voice said, Maria, you can't stay. You still have work. Maria Brown, you can't stay. You still have work. And I thought, oh no, I know what my work is. I'm going to jump into my hubby's arms. And I jumped up in the air, and the voice said, Maria Brown, you can't stay. You still have work. And when I woke up, I was in that cot in my sewing room in Fort Smith. It took hours to get my blood moving. My blood was just like slush, Richard. But Richard, I'm not afraid of dying. You want to know what it feels like when you cross over? I said, what? She said, it's all love because you're home. I'm not afraid of dying, Richard, because I still have work. And that's why we're here. We're all here to work. And the smartest thing I ever did, my friends, and what you're going to benefit from tonight is I said, in a heartbeat, my blood came to life. Finally, I knew why I was born. I said, Maria, what if I go to Radio Shack and I buy one of those little tape recorders and I come to your house tomorrow and I record you word for word? I'll type it out on my dad's TRS 80, the Trash 80. My mom works at the Friendship Center. I can type it out. We can photocopy it. We can give these stories away, your beautiful words away. You'll have final say on everything. Do you know how many people need to hear this story? How many people are hurting in this town? How many people are grieving in this town? She said, sure, come by tomorrow. I'll make coffee, bannock. You can record me. I said, great, I'll type it out. Holy cow, we can make 50 copies. Give it away for whenever you want. My goodness. And you know what I did, my friends? And why we're benefiting tonight together as a family? Is I bought a $23 little Radio Shack tape recorder. I felt like James Bond. And I recorded her. And if you go to Richard Van Camp SoundCloud, you'll see a picture of Maria Brown. And you'll actually hear that recording. It was done in 1991. And that really began my journey. So I just wanted to acknowledge Maria Brown. I wanted to acknowledge my mother as a residential school survivor. And I give thanks to her and her courage, and courage to everybody who was ever stolen and taken away from their families and their homes. I can't imagine the terror that they went through. And my mom is here in Edmonton. I get to see her tomorrow. I'm going to bring her coffee, broth. She discovered painting. She's 73. But I really want to acknowledge residential school survivors and everybody who survived the unimaginable, because if it wasn't for her, if I wasn't her tallest, most handsomest, most gorgeous son, I'm just kidding. I think I'm the homeliest, actually. Anyways, if it wasn't for my mommy, and I really want to acknowledge her and honor her and her story, I think because we came so close to losing so much as a family, as a community, as a nation. There's so many of us like Monique, like Jade, like everybody here, like all of you who are doing so much for so many. And I just wanted to acknowledge you and honor you. And so that's why I wanted to send these gifts. This is from all of us to all of you. So you have my email, vancamprichard@gmail.com. Write to me if there's anything I can do. I would love to help you. That's why we're here. So let's continue to support each other for the work we're here to do. Masi Cho, thanks for listening.
Oh my goodness, Marcy Cho, to you, Richard, and to you too, Monique. Oh my goodness. I don't even have words to respond to both of those things. You are both gifts, and your gift of resources is humongous, Richard. But I think you both talked about love and love as medicine and your stories, and you feel it you feel it in these spaces. And I know that as a non-Indigenous person who came into these learning spaces, I had a lot of fear and a lot of guilt and all these things that were getting in the way of actually doing any work. And actually the work, when I get to listen to such passionate and powerful and beautiful and loving humans, and you welcome us and you teach us where the love is in all of our relations in the space around, it's not work, it's joy and play and a gift. And I'm leaving here skipping, crying, but skipping. And I just I the emotional roller coaster of all of the things. And I cannot thank you enough for both being here. We're a little over time because it's too powerful. But I'm going to ask you one question each, if that's okay, that came in. Monique, a couple of different people asked, is there a non-Western or Indigenous concept or idea that you can replace regulating with, or that is comparable to the idea of regulating, that you think is a nice way of describing it?
I think when the most authentic element of who that human being is shows up. Yeah. Like we just saw Richard Van Camp regulated. Right? Like really. So yeah, I think that when we authentically show up, we are regulated.
Perfect. Yeah. Perfect. And I feel like when you show up for truth and reconciliation in your authentic way, whether that's with like excitement or deep, quiet reflection, then that is a way to be in that space as well, and to contribute yourself. Oh gosh, my heart. Okay. Richard, you talked about your mum as a survivor, as someone who was stolen, and someone asked about how do you recommend talking about being reclaimed with displaced people, or diving into some of those deeper, more challenging topics?
Read Monique's book. Monique, do you have your book on reconciliation? That's why I turned off my
Oh.
camera. I have been raiding this library upstairs and downstairs.
This one?
Read Monique's book. It is the most beautiful,
Hmm.
gentlest welcome into reconciliation and reclaiming. It should be mandatory reading for everybody. And I genuinely mean that. I was looking for it. And the challenge is I keep meeting people I keep giving away the book, Monique. You keep giving them to me. I keep giving away, which is the ultimate compliment. So read, please. Can you just please hold it up one more time, Monique?
Yeah.
I think really
Thank you,
people
Richard.
really, because let's not forget there are people in the States who may not have access to the same booksellers that we do up here. So Speaking Our Truth, a journey of reconciliation. It's
Published by Orca
absolutely,
Book Publishing.
yeah, published by our publisher Orca, and it is it's about the gentlest, because we don't. I'm just going to say I don't want anyone to feel guilty about anything. Truthfully, I just want people to understand what happened and why we're seeing the fallout that we are across North America. And probably all over the world, but certainly we talked about the residential schools, foster care system, 60s scoop, forced abortion, mission schools in the States, day schools, right? It was all part of a colonizing machine. And so all of you are allies, all of you are relations now, because we are under the same beautiful full moon tonight. I hope we're all dancing under the aurora tonight. We're going to be watching Oginans tomorrow, the leader star rise together. And we've gifted you with jaw-dropping miracle stories. And I think the beauty of stories is they remind us about what it means to be human together. And we need each other more than ever now, certainly, don't we?
Agreed.
Yeah.
I want to finish with that. What beautiful gifts that you have given us. And I'm full to the brim. What magic. Thank you so much both for being here. And it won't be the last time because it is too special. to share this space with you. You can see the waterfall of, you know,
Yeah.
800 hearts, all for you. What love, what a cultivation of love. Thank you, everyone. I'll let you go. Stay around, everyone. I'm going to just do quick prizes. I've got 4 prizes up to grabs. 2 $25 gift cards.
Many
Marcy Cho.
blessings, everyone.
Feel free to go if you like. Gets a bit hectic at the end. Okay, Julie's ready to record. Oh my goodness, what a way to kick off the season. I can't actually speak.
Unbelievable.
Sorry,
Thank you so much.
Oh, okay. Right, I'm going to pick 4 winners. The first 2, you can have a Canadian or a US dollar gift card. We will find you, don't worry. We've got you in our registration. So I'm just going to do a random scroll. And our first winner is Jessica Bazushko. Jessica Bazushko. You are our first winner of a $25 gift card to the Outdoor Learning Store. So we will email you. And you could possibly buy either Richard or Monique's books with that. Okay, second winner is Patricia Elson. Patricia Elson, you are our second winner of a $25 gift card. Wahoo! Okay, 2 $25 gift cards to the Take Me Outside store. Willow Fair. Willow Fair, that's your one winner there. And my next final scroll is Aileen, Aelin, Aileen Logue. Sorry, not sure if I pronounced that correctly. But you are our final winner for the evening. Thank you, each and every one of you, for being here. This is where the magic happens. You can't plan this stuff. I can try and cultivate great speakers for you. You just cannot sometimes imagine when it's just going to come together in a way that is so, so powerful. So thank you for being here. Next week, we are doing Truth and Reconciliation for Children. So we've got a panel of phenomenal speakers and authors and educators and elders who are going to be here. So please join us September 24th, outdoorlearning.com/workshops. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Julie, for all your help in the background.
Thank you, everybody. This was so fantastic. What a way to come together under the full moon.
Yes, go dance under the moon. Good night.
Go enjoy. Thanks, everybody. Oh,
check for your follow-up email. It will be in your inbox by lunchtime tomorrow. So Pacific, 12 p.m. So if you don't see it, check your spam. There's your link to certificate, link to the recording, which is only available for 1 month in this case. And there'll be a link to all Richard's resources there as well, and to Monique and Richard's books. So we'll see you next week, and check your email for tonight. Thank you.
See you next time. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Good night.